I'm going to read a little bit from the introduction to my book, Justice, Gone Haywire. Winston Churchill famously said, "Democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others that have ever been tried." This wry and witty statement could also be made about the American judicial system. The adversary system we have in this country usually protects the rights of the suspect while also getting justice for the wronged. This author has no quarrel with it. However, like any legal system, it is made up of human beings and subject to human error. The innocent may sometimes be imprisoned, even executed. Mistakes are made. Of course, the first case featured in the collection, that of Henry VIII's famous or infamous fifth queen, was not done under the American judicial system, but that of early modern era England. Does the case of Queen Catherine Howard, executed in the 16th century for treasonous adultery, even belong in this collection? I believe it does, due to the fact that her guilt is assumed in the popular imagination, even though, as I hope I showed in my article, the case for it is far weaker than generally thought. No system of justice can ever be perfect, just as no human being or group of human beings can ever be free of flaws. Okay. Now, I discussed in my article on Queen Catherine Howard how the tug of war between the reformist faction and the conformist faction played a far greater role in her downfall than is generally assumed. It was far less the romantic drama that people tend to assume. Okay. Now, in other cases that are in this book, okay, and I'm going to read again. Legitimate concerns about the sexual vulnerabilities of young females and their exploitation by powerful male predators played a role in the cases of Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle and Leo Frank. Revulsion at violence against women factored into the persecution of the Scottsboro Boys. The sense that marriage was threatened by the loosening of traditional sexual morals may have played a role in the cases of both Dr. Sam Shepard and Alice Crimmins. The attention given to the Jean Harris case was partly because many women identified with the story of a woman wronged by a compulsively promiscuous man, as well as the special plight of an aging woman replaced in her man's life by a younger woman. Okay. Now, perverting the course of justice can also take various forms. And, for example, anti-Semitism played a role in the case of Leo Frank, and racism definitely hovered over the case of the Scottsboro Boys. Okay. And the less, okay. There's also more subtle forms of prejudice. Prejudice around weight worked against Arbuckle, his image shifting from the jolly fat man to the obese ogre when he was on trial. And Anthony Capozzi's schizophrenia may have been a factor in his taking the rap for crimes committed by another man. Prejudice against sexual adventurousness among females, together with a stereotype of glamorous women as cold and unmotherly, hovers over the prosecution of Alice Crimmins. Okay, there's also, well, there's a bias against poor people. There can also be a bias against rich people when they're on trial, or people who are perceived to be rich and that may have factored into the cases of Dr. Sam Shepard and the non-affluent Jean Harris, who seemed rich because she socialized with the rich, even though she was herself not that well off. Okay. Anyway, perhaps the most important thing about the cases collected in this volume is that they remind us of how individuals can find themselves trampled under the weight of justice gone haywire. Okay, and the cases in the volume are Queen Catherine Howard, Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, the murder of Mary Fagan, and lynching